as we continue our breaking news coverage of what's been happening in Grand Blanc, Michigan. Want to bring in former FBI investigator Bill Daly. Bill, we know 10 victims. We do know that at least one deceased, multiple in critical condition, and more victims likely. I've been sort of trying to unpack the possible motivation. We just don't know at this stage. We do know that the suspect, the attacker, has been killed by law enforcement, 40-year-old male from Burton, and apparently used some sort of a rifle. What, if anything, can you glean from the limited amount of information that we have gotten so far?
Sure. And first of all, another tragic day here in the U.S. when people going about their constitutional right, freedom of religion, expressing themselves, that they're confronted with the horrific situation like this. But however, as we just heard at the press conference a few minutes ago, was that the FBI has now dedicated at least 100 agents plus other resources, technical and other resources, to this investigation. Director Patel has been very leaning forward on all these incidents we've seen in just the past several weeks, where the FBI has been supporting local law enforcement. But as I listened to that press conference, there are a couple of things that kind of jumped out at me. One was certainly I would say kind of the quick and efficient way that local police responded. That this individual apparently was in a position to be able to take shots at individuals until they arrived on the scene and they neutralized him. Apparently there was some type of exchange of gunfire and he was neutralized. At the same time, he seems to have been able to set either some type of incendiary device or maybe some flammable fluid. We're not too sure what transpired, but set ablaze the church, to which point the local chief of police said they're not even too sure if they have accounted for all the victims, because there may be some others who were trapped perhaps upstairs, maybe a choir loft or some of the secondary level of this church that was then consumed by fire. So they're not too sure exactly if that count of the victims is accurate at this point. The other thing, too, and I think you discussed it preceding the break, was the fact that they haven't named the individual. Many times this is certainly in the favor of law enforcement because they want to get to location or locations where this person has lived, where he may have either some incriminating information. There could be locations that have been booby-trapped, we've seen with some other of these incidents. And so they want to just make sure that they're not telegraphing to people, either neighbors or others, who may kind of then, come upon these locations before law enforcement gets there. So they want to make sure that the public is safe as well as evidence is preserved. So it's a very evolving situation, as we know. Sometimes this kind of fog at the first few minutes of an incident, the clarity isn't there. But I can assure you, with the support of the FBI, the other federal agencies involved in this investigation, we will find the reasons why. And at this point, as the police chief said, he didn't appear that there was any further threat to the public.
Bill, in the 30 or so seconds we have left, can you help me understand who takes the lead in an investigation like this, and how does everyone coordinate information through one large, centralized space so that we're all on the same page?
Yeah, that's a great question, because as we've seen a number of these cases, is that there may be more of kind of a local jurisdiction with regard to the immediate crime. There could eventually be some federal level charges, but certainly gathering all this information, having command and control to make sure that as you gather both forensic information, interview witnesses, et cetera, it's all kind of gathered and memorialized in one location should it be needed later. I probably suggest at this point the FBI is providing kind of a lead investigative role. However, from a prosecution standpoint, and I won't get too far out of my wheelhouse on this one, is that there may be more kind of local charges initially, but I think there could be some federal charges depending upon if this was this certainly was a threat and denial of people of their constitutional rights, a targeted attack against a religious institution. There may be some other charges that could be level, although this individual now who's deceased, we don't know whether there's anyone else who has been around him, who is aware of his planning, who could be possibly drawn into this.
Great stuff from Bill Daly. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think you nailed it, too. The investigation is ongoing because you just don't know. You'll have to have some time to collect their communications and find out if or whether or not this particular individual made posts online and or made other threats to this institution or others. Of course, we'll all learn that as we continue. And we're going to have a lot more as we take a look at these pictures here. This is Fox News live coverage of breaking news out of Grand Blanc, Michigan. 10 victims, 1 dead, including multiple in critical condition. More victims likely, unfortunately, thanks to a large fire at a congregation, a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons. The suspect, 40-year-old male from Burton, Michigan, apparently used an assault rifle, drove a vehicle through the church, perhaps used an improvised explosive device to set a massive fire. We continue our coverage here after a quick timeout.